Hello, everyone. This was a good week of chapters, with One Piece and the Hunters Guild being particular standouts for me. Everything else did very well. There's no Black Clover this week. They had a unscheduled break, so hopefully everything's fine there, and that it gets back right where it left off, as if nothing changed. Now, we're going to start this week off with One Piece, chapter 1024. And this was a good chapter, showing everyone in every front starting to make their way towards the performance hall. From Usopp, Nami, and Tama, Frankie, and Brook, to Jinbei, everyone making their way towards the performance hall. Kawamatsu and the other Yakuza bosses holding off the enemy so no one gets into the performance hall that isn't an ally. And then we continue the fight between Yamato and Kaido. This one is still as one-sided as ever, and then we get the backstory of Yamato. How they basically fell in love and extremely admired Odin. How kind of cruel Kaido is towards them. Leaving them in a cave with a whole bunch of other samurai because Yamato's lashing out because they want to be Odin. And so we see a bunch of that. We then see a bunch of the samurai that are with Yamato and how they left an impression on them. It seems as though we've met the descendant of Ryoma. At least that's the way I look at it and see it. We see how powerful they are. We see that Yamato had Odin's travel log since a child. We see their resolve in defeating Kaido as they clash once again. So with that, with the whole backstory of Yamato becoming basically who they are now, was good. Seeing some more of young Kaido being cold-hearted, showing that maybe as time went on he either regretted his decisions or he just stopped caring, being very much above everything instead of just cold, and that's why he started drinking maybe. Who knows? But their continued clash is very good. Overall, I'd give this chapter a B. I thought it was good, seeing the Yamato backstory as well as every front of this battle converging onto the performance hall. That's important because it feels like something major is going to happen there, as well as Luffy making it to the top, having that battle happen, and him punching Kaido through the ceiling, crashing down to the floor, to the performance hall, where everyone, enemy and ally, seeing Kaido defeated by the hands of Luffy for all to witness. That's what I think that's building up to, and it's a pretty good decision. I still think everything crumbles and crashes after that slam that Luffy does to Kaido, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's sort of the big visual, that everyone on Onigashima sees that Luffy defeated Kaido, where then we see that Momo grabs Onigashima, the island, and prevents it from crashing. I could see that. I don't think it'll happen, but we'll end up seeing. Now we're on to Undead Unluck chapter 77, and this was a good flashback chapter as well, seeing Top's flashback. We even get his full name of Top Bull Sparks, and we see he's a very talented track and field athlete, even as a child. We also see that he's very caring, tending to worry about others instead of himself, even to the point of arguing with his mom over who should eat what food. And he plans on throwing this big race that they're going to have that could earn them a lot of money to help out his friends, showing his kindness. However, it would seem as though the god of this universe is extremely unkind, as when he's starting to throw the race and stop moving, his negator power activates, causing him to propel forward at the speed of like a car, slamming into all of his friends. He ended up killing two of them and majorly injuring another one, and we see how that affected him and even how some of his power works. When he starts running, he can't stop running. If he does or tries to, he gets slammed forward. When he's hurt or injured, he can stop, but if he starts, he can't. We see that Nico and Juiz end up trying to pseudo-recruit him, as well as just told him what happened. They didn't plan on necessarily doing it because he's so young, but that Top insists, and then we see that he has resolved himself to save Chikara, as he seemingly has some new armor that he'll be putting on. Like, it's sort of manifesting on him as he's starting to charge up his speed. So that'll be interesting to see how that works in the end, to see if maybe the armor gives him more force so that he doesn't break his body while he slams into someone, or what, I don't know. But it was a good backstory. I enjoyed it. I thought it gave him a lot of character, showing that he was very talented before all of this, and then even after, he's still very caring. Overall, I'd give it a B. I thought it was good. The backstory was a pseudo more normal one, especially for this universe where half the negators get their powers in extremely unfavorable circumstances. His was very similar to Fuko's activation, where he didn't mean to hurt anyone, but ended up hurting someone because of the power. Just like with Fuko, accidentally causing Unluck to hit her parents, just like Chikara accidentally stopping his parents in the middle of the street. To some degree, just like Shen, where he accidentally dropped his sister because of his ability. So it seems as though, for those in the Union, it's a common backstory. Makes me curious about Juiz, but we might find out about that one if my prediction's right on the series. So we'll see if that comes true or not. But like I said, it was good. It showed a good backstory, and next week should be the conclusion of the top Chikara versus Creed fight, and then move on to whatever the next one is. So now we're on to Mashle, Magic and Muscles, chapter 76, and this was a fun chapter, seeing Otor versus Mash. We see that Otor is extremely powerful, even for Mash, with his sand magic causing all sorts of problems, but Mash is basically on par. He's able to fend off a lot of Otor's abilities and attacks, but he can't attack himself. So they're about even, but Otor starts bad-mouthing him, saying that he sucks, and ends up using his little servant beast as like a hostage against Mash, saying that if Mash moves, the servant beast will be hurt instead. Mash then takes a hit at first, only to then move so fast that he's able to get out of his clothing without the clothing losing its shape, and delivering a giant heel kick to the top of Otor's head. This manga is ridiculous, as just with that sequence of him being able to get out of his clothing so fast that it stays in his shape, so that it looks like he didn't dodge so he can get behind Otor to deliver a massive attack, is ridiculous. Overall, I'd give this chapter a B. It was very fight heavy, and they described basically sand in the same way that they describe Mash's muscles being both dense and strong as well as flexible. It was very silly. The fight itself, I don't think it's over, though I wouldn't be surprised if it was. Mash is, of course, that powerful, but I have a feeling Otor is probably going to come back with something, and then maybe a couple of others will step in to stop them, deeming Mash worthy or something, I'm not sure. But for now, the fight will probably continue. Now we're on to Sakamoto Days, chapter 37, and we see that Wu-Tang is, in fact, employed while he gives them the information that he knows about the one who put the bounty on Sakamoto's head. It's just really funny, as he's actually working at the convenience store as the cashier, and it's just really funny watching all of them do their daily work as they're discussing assassins and mercenaries, as well as him just doing a regular job. I thought it was really funny, and I kind of hope he just stays, because I think that would be great. We learn a bit more about the main villain of the series, X, seeing that he slaughtered a whole bunch of people at a prison in various ways before leaving his mark, and we hear about 4 different deaths, all in very specific ways that were specific to the 4 serial killers that were killed. So it would seem as though the killers were broken out of prison, which we see is true. We see that the 4 of them are eating this universe's brand of McDonald's, and we see who they are. You have Dump, Saw, Apart, and Minimalist, each one having heinous crimes that are worthy of the death penalty. They're all in Japan, all of them enjoying or not enjoying things, especially Apart, who just can't catch a break. His burger has pickles on it, which he doesn't like, which he asked them to remove, but they left it there. And then Minimalist ended up crushing it into a ball and eating it instead of letting him have it. And so Apart just down bad at this point. It's really funny. They're all a bit eccentric and ridiculous as we see the cyborg assassin who likes to wear a deer head show up. I don't remember his name. And he gives them a pamphlet of people that they have to kill, and Sakamoto is on that list, and none of them are taking Sakamoto very seriously, as they always do. The deer head tells them not to underestimate Sakamoto when they get pissed and plan on killing them all, otherwise they're just going to keep killing people in Japan. Deerhead doesn't seem to like working with them, believing they're pure evil, but it's the master's call, so he'll just go along with it. It then cuts back to Sakamoto and co, and they're planning to take out the 4 criminals before they do any real damage. So it looks like we're getting an actual arc, which should be fun, and we'll end up seeing how or who joins in on this fight. I'm kind of hoping some of the super assassins join in, as they seemingly were on that list, the kill list, as well as I don't think Liu or Shin have any real shot here, as it looks like Sakamoto might struggle just from this initial impression of these criminal characters. But I like where this arc is going to go, potentially, like with an actual struggle for our characters, potentially, as well as just a very dangerous set of enemies. So this could be a very good arc, and I am excited for it. So overall, I'd give this chapter a B. Like I said, I'm very excited. I think it was good. I think the little moment of Wu-Tang working for Sakamoto, even getting paid for his work, is really funny. And I think it should continue, as they also then decide that they should call Hayazaki as well to give him the heads up, which I think is actually pretty cool, as well as I think they're going to call the Assassin Society, or whatever, the JAA. The Japanese Assassin Association, I think is what that's supposed to be, where Shen and Sakamoto came from. Wu-Tang is still worried, but there's nothing he can do to stop them. Now we're on to the Hunters Guild, Red Hood, Chapter 9. And this was a good chapter. I really enjoyed it. As the game of cops and robbers began, there were 30 test takers and the time limit was 2 hours. They explained that the rules were the same as a traditional game of cops and robbers, outside of the fact that you're actually going to get handcuffed. We see a bunch of the test takers feeling a bit worried, thinking that the only way to win is to find a way to escape, and many of them are trying to get ready for it, when Debonair basically says, ready, set, go, right away, and most of the field runs away. Most of the crowd starts running, as the brother and sister pair also make their escape, or at least attempt to, when we see a certain crop of test takers stay where they were and not run away. The rest of them think they're weird, and even the sister asks why they're not running. When Velo says he thinks it's a bad idea to run, the crop of people that's with him also agree. Ironically, Miro is also among them, who I didn't think he'd end up being a major character, quote unquote, but he does seem to be a bit stronger, as well as the giant guy with the metal lower jaw. So it'll be interesting to see who passes and who doesn't. We meet some of the other characters, a priestess named Miguel, another character named Nulo, and another girl named Portion. So we meet a bunch of characters, and they deduce that Debonair and Grim don't have enough handcuffs for everyone, and believe that the best way they can win is to kind of change the situation. Taking their handcuffs away makes it that they then become the hunters instead of the hunted. So the point of the exam in their mind is to try and to turn the tables and to show that they can change a predominantly bad situation into a good situation for them as hunters. Interesting form of concept, because in a manner of speaking, what's about to happen is kind of what they would feel when versing werewolves. 2 overwhelming monsters that they have to overcome is basically what fighting werewolves is, at least from what we've seen thus far. So it's in a similar situation that they have to turn their strengths into even bigger strengths to try to overwhelm monsters that they can't really beat if they don't have any number of advantages. At least not yet. So they attack them. There's a fight that ensues, and they try to bind up Debonair and Grim and keep them busy, more or less, as Velo was able to deduce to grab the handcuffs. They all go for the handcuffs, impressing both Debonair and Grim to some degree, though I don't think the plan's going to go quite as well as they hoped. So it'll be interesting to see if they get caught and then they need to be saved, or if they succeed and kind of win for everyone. They said you would win if you weren't in jail, so I wonder how that'll go. Because in a manner of speaking, both strategies work, because the hunters will always be at a disadvantage against these giant monsters of werewolves, so they need to know how to run away but also make an advantage out of that, setting up traps, setting up whatever. Here is a more frontal assault, turning the hunters into the hunted, meaning in this situation the cops into the robbers, and then in their real world setting of turning the werewolves from the hunters to the hunted, so that they can get the advantage. So I wonder how this is going to shape up. But so far, I am enjoying this series immensely. And like I said, I hope it has a long run. And I'm curious to see who's kind of the main group of characters. Because so far, we only really have Velo and Grim. So I wonder who else kind of fits. Maybe this class right here of people. Maybe the brother and sister also join in. Maybe it's just all the hunters that are already in the guild, but I don't know. So overall, I'd give this chapter a B. I thought it was good. It continued to show off Velo's kind of quote-unquote specialness to the story, but the way that this story works out, maybe someone's tampering with it, which I think would be kind of an interesting turn of events. But at least for now, he seemingly is a rather surprisingly good hunter so far. So I wonder how far that will take him before something potentially derails his momentum. Also, all the characters so far that have been introduced, I think are pretty good, just from a basic aesthetic standpoint, as well as just looking a little bit into their personalities. I think they're all fairly unique, so I look forward to seeing more of them. So that was all the chapters. The few others were fine. Again, My Hero's fine. It's the same stuff. They're gonna win. It's gonna end soon. Jujutsu Kaisen was good, showing more of Itadori being a fairly good protagonist, standing up for what he thinks is right, and it'll be interesting to see how that story goes. Candy Flurry, I'm a bit worried, might be ending sooner rather than later. Just got a feeling on that one, the way that the story is going. Like, I won't be surprised if I hear that one's getting canceled, which would be a really big shame. Nero was good. That one, I hope, has a strong shelf life, but I don't know. I thought all the chapters were good. You had backstories with One Piece and Undead Unluck. You had fight plans made for existing enemies for Mashle and the Hunters Guild, and you had a new arc begin and new enemies introduced in Sakamoto Days. So I look forward to seeing how that goes, all of them. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, and as always, thank you for watching.